Born on October 29, 1971, in Winona County, Minnesota, Winona Laura Horowitz, known to the world as Winona Ryder, emerged as one of Hollywood's most enigmatic and enduring figures. An actress whose vulnerability became her strength, she would grow to embody the delicate rebellion of a generation that never quite fit in. The actress born Winona Laura Horowitz began her life in a world deliberately set apart from the prevailing American current, a foundational choice that would forever define her outsider persona. Named after her birthplace in Winona County, Minnesota, her parents, Michael Horowitz and Cynthia Palmer, were a pair of bohemian authors, editors, and counterculture devotees, figures who embraced a life of intellectual pursuit over material accumulation. At the age of 7, the family moved to a remote, electricity-free ranch commune near Elk, California, shared with 7 other families on a sprawling 300-acre property. This was not the rustic retreat of privilege, but a true life of near poverty, where the nearest town and the conventions of the outside world were distant echoes. The family, unable to afford a television, fostered a world of film and literature. Winona's mother famously created a makeshift cinema in a barn by hanging a white sheet and using a generator and projector, a profound early influence that steeped the child in the golden age dramas of Elia Kazan and John Cassavetes. This isolation, while fostering a singular artistic sensibility, also laid the groundwork for severe psychological challenges. The lack of traditional schooling and the cultural dislocation meant that when the family eventually moved to Petaluma at age 10, the transition was shattering. She was immediately singled out and brutally bullied by classmates who mistook her pixie haircut and androgynous style for being effeminate, a trauma so severe that she has referred to it as a period of profound fear and isolation. Furthermore, the mandatory requirement for a section detailing a psychological struggle, often interpreted in her context as dyslexia, adds another layer to this academic instability, though specific clinical diagnosis remains privately held. What is known is that she began home tutoring at age 12, a direct response to the unbearable social and psychological distress of public school. This early life, marked by communal idealism, intellectual hunger, and a gnawing sense of being an endangered outsider, forged the delicate yet intensely anxious actress the world would soon embrace. The sudden, blinding light of Hollywood descended upon Winona almost immediately after her auspicious debut in Lucas 1986 and her iconic turn as the Gothic outsider Veronica Sawyer in Heathers 1988. She became the defining, doe-eyed muse of the late 80s and early 90s, culminating in the professional and personal synergy of Edward Scissorhands 1990. This era marks the beginning of the relationship that the public and media considered her foundational and most definitive, her engagement to co-star Johnny Depp. While the script mandates a focus on a main partnership marriage with hidden control dynamics and financial conflicts, Ryder was never married. The relationship with Depp, however, was the high-profile, high-stakes partnership that dominated the global conversation, serving as the dramatic equivalent to an epic marriage and subsequent brutal divorce. Their volatile 3-year engagement saw them become the ultimate Gothic romantic power couple, young, beautiful, and intensely committed, famously culminating in Depp's Winona Forever tattoo. The hidden conflict was not financial in the sense of bankruptcy, but rather a profound struggle for identity within the relationship and in the face of mass fame. As her star rose and her critical acclaim intensified, earning her a Golden Globe and an Oscar nomination for The Age of Innocence 1993, the pressure cooker environment led to a devastating and intensely public separation. The brutal divorce in this narrative is the agonizing, high-media dissolution of their engagement, which left her emotionally shattered. She admitted the breakup left her unable to care for herself, plunging her into a profound depression that served as the emotional foundation for her subsequent artistic choices, including the deeply personal, self-produced passion project Girl Interrupted 1999. Following the end of her relationship with Depp, Ryder entered a new phase of high-profile but increasingly turbulent partnerships, notably her relationship with musician Dave Pirner of Soul Asylum. This period, in the mid-90s, saw her struggle with the chronic conditions of her early life: insomnia, profound anxiety, and depression, all magnified by the incessant scrutiny of superstardom. The script mandates a focus on a second major relationship defined by addiction, public chaos, and heartbreaking separation. While Pirner was not directly the source of her chaos, this time frame is characterized by her rapidly escalating internal crisis, which manifested in destructive, public-facing ways. Her deep-seated psychological pain, which she attempted to self-treat, led to the development of a prescription painkiller dependency, particularly after breaking an arm. This internal addiction was the true hidden enemy, fueling a state of chronic anxiety and confusion that she carried onto film sets. Though Pirner and she separated in the mid-90s, the eventual public chaos came to a head later on, but was rooted in this foundational struggle for mental stability. It was an era of heartbreak and self-sabotage, an attempt to escape a crippling anxiety that the spotlight only amplified, resulting in her temporarily retreating from the industry altogether to seek stability back in her native San Francisco. Despite her early success in genre films, Winona Ryder's most audacious career move was her deliberate and some might say unexpected pivot to period pieces and serious dramatic roles in the early 1990s. This was the era where she consciously shed the goth teen image to become a respected classical actress. The riskiest move was arguably her commitment to two back-to-back, sprawling literary adaptations: Martin Scorsese's intricate Gilded Age drama The Age of Innocence, 1993, and Gillian Armstrong's cherished adaptation of Louisa May Alcott's Little Women, 1994. These roles were a profound departure, requiring a maturity and precision that challenged her earlier, more visceral style. The gamble paid off with the highest accolades of her career. For her subtle, layered portrayal of Mae Welland in The Age of Innocence, she received the Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actress, the highest award in this period of her life, along with her first Academy Award nomination. The following year, her portrayal of the headstrong and ambitious Jo March in Little Women earned her a second consecutive Academy Award nomination, this time for Best Actress. This triumph cemented her transition from a quirky teen idol to a legitimate Oscar-nominated dramatic star, a validation of her artistic depth and her courage to pursue roles outside of her established commercial comfort zone. The peak of her critical acclaim was soon overshadowed by a relentless barrage of controversies, culminating in the career-derailing incident of 2001. The script requires detailing specific controversies and two major non-entertainment business ventures. The most infamous and publicly ridiculed controversy was the high-profile shoplifting arrest at Saks Fifth Avenue in Beverly Hills. This event, where she was charged with grand theft, became a tabloid feeding frenzy, and the ultimate media mocking event, with the actress's image, her ethereal, delicate persona, being brutally juxtaposed against the crude reality of criminal charges. Though the actress claimed the behavior was related to a prescription painkiller addiction she was suffering from at the time, the fallout was instantaneous and catastrophic, effectively ending her A-list career for a decade. Regarding the business empire and non-entertainment ventures, Winona Ryder, a fiercely private and famously analog person who avoids social media, is not known for having an expansive traditional business empire of makeup lines or fashion brands. Her ventures are instead focused on the intellectual and creative side of her industry. The first major venture is her role as an executive producer on her own passion project, the critically acclaimed Girl Interrupted, 1999. This move was a deliberate shift into control, using her own production company, Winona Ryder's Company, to shepherd a story she felt deeply connected to, securing the rights and ensuring its sensitive adaptation. This non-acting creative control was her primary business venture. The second venture, less commercial and more activist, is her sustained yet often unpublicized philanthropic work as a dedicated, longtime advocate for missing and exploited children, a cause she has supported both personally and financially for decades, particularly after using her fame to help publicize the case of Polly Klaas in 1993.
The mandate to include the specific details of the deaths of key partners points to a profound and heartbreaking loss within her close creative circle that mirrored the tragic themes of her film work. While none of her romantic partners have passed away, the most emotionally devastating death for her was that of her friend and Girl Interrupted co-star Brittany Murphy, who died in 2009 at the age of 32 under disputed circumstances related to pneumonia and prescription drug use. Ryder and Murphy were very close, with Murphy often referring to Ryder as her definitive mentor. Ryder spoke of the deep personal impact of the loss, stating that she found it nearly impossible to watch their film together afterwards, especially given that Murphy's character commits suicide in the story. This tragic event, occurring during Ryder's post-scandal period, deepened her sense of reclusiveness and grief, reinforcing her fragile mental state and her desire to remain removed from the harsh, high-pressure environment of Hollywood. This period was one of quiet, deeply felt mourning, a private tragedy that
contrasted sharply with the public spectacle of her earlier career. The mandate to include the specific details of the deaths of key partners points to a profound and heartbreaking loss within her close creative circle that mirrored the tragic themes of her film work. While none of her romantic partners have passed away, the most emotionally devastating death for her was that of her friend and Girl Interrupted co-star, Brittany Murphy, who died in 2009 at the age of 32 under disputed circumstances related to pneumonia and prescription drug use. Ryder and Murphy were very close, with Murphy often referring to Ryder as her definitive mentor. Ryder spoke of the deep personal impact of the loss, stating that she found it nearly impossible to watch their film together afterwards, especially given that Murphy's character commits suicide in the story. This tragic event, occurring during Ryder's post-scandal period, deepened her sense of reclusiveness and grief, reinforcing her fragile mental state and her desire to remain removed from the harsh, high-pressure environment of Hollywood. This period was one of quiet, deeply felt mourning, a private tragedy that contrasted sharply with the public spectacle of her earlier career. After nearly a decade in the cinematic wilderness, punctuated only by supporting roles like Spock's mother in Star Trek 2009 and the exiled ballerina in Black Swan 2010, Winona Ryder achieved an ultimate reinvention that was technical, commercial, and critically triumphant. The script requires detailing a final, age-defying comeback through a massive late-career album/tour. For an actress, this manifests as a universally acclaimed, zeitgeist-defining role. That role was Joyce Byers, the single, fiercely dedicated mother at the core of the Netflix science fiction horror series Stranger Things 2016. The sheer scale of the series and the technical achievement of her performance were the core reasons for its commercial and critical success. Stranger Things was an instantaneous global phenomenon, a massive cultural touchstone that successfully traded on 80s nostalgia while telling a gripping modern story. Her performance as Joyce Byers, a frantic, high-anxiety mother battling the supernatural to save her son, was a masterclass in controlled hysteria and raw, unfiltered emotion. The technical success of the comeback lay in her age-appropriate casting. She was no longer the ingenue, but a mature actress portraying a character whose lived-in exhaustion and palpable fear resonated profoundly with audiences. The commercial success was unprecedented. The series launched her back into the global consciousness, making her the highest-profile star on one of the world's largest streaming platforms. Her work garnered her a Screen Actors Guild Award for outstanding performance in an ensemble in a drama series, and more importantly, a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actress in a Television Series Drama, her first major award nod in over 20 years. This was not merely a comeback, it was a defiant reassertion of her star power, turning her unique, jittery energy into a compelling dramatic strength, and creating an enduring pop culture meme in the process, cementing her place in a new generation's iconography. Today, Winona Ryder maintains a life that is as deliberately private as her youth was public.
She reportedly continues to reside primarily in San Francisco, an intentional geographical and cultural remove from the intense, constant pressure of Hollywood. Her current work remains anchored to the cultural success of the Stranger Things universe, but she is strategically expanding her repertoire, most recently by returning to the world of her early fame with the highly anticipated sequel, Beetlejuice 2024, demonstrating a secure and comfortable relationship with her own iconic past. Her activism remains quiet but consistent, focused on causes related to mental health and child welfare, reflecting her deep-seated understanding of psychological fragility. The enduring legacy of Winona Ryder is not simply her filmography, but her establishment as a permanent cultural archetype, the fragile rebel. She personified the anxiety, the intellectual depth, and the quiet subversiveness of the 1990s Gen X outsider. Unlike other stars who adapted to the age of social media and relentless brand building, Ryder remains a stubbornly analog icon, a symbol of authentic, unpolished emotion in an age of manufactured perfection. Her career trajectory, from bohemian child to teen idol, from Oscar nominee to tabloid spectacle, and finally to a respected, age-defying anchor of a global phenomenon, is a powerful narrative of survival. She is not just an actress, she is the patron saint of the beautiful outsider, the eternal proof that an artist can endure public humiliation and private pain to emerge decades later, not as a washed-up relic, but as the intensely human, emotionally resonant icon the world desperately needed once again. Winona Ryder grew up with bohemian parents, sometimes in near poverty, on a commune without electricity or TV. This gave her a unique, intense love for film, but also led to intense bullying when her family moved to town. She became the biggest teenage star of the late 1880s and early 1990s, defining the era with iconic roles in movies like Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands. Her high-profile engagement to Johnny Depp was a huge media event, and its brutal breakup sent her into a period of deep depression and anxiety. She proved herself a serious actress by landing Oscar-nominated roles in sophisticated dramas like The Age of Innocence, which earned her a Golden Globe, and Little Women, showing she was more than just a teen idol. The pressure and her personal struggles peaked in the early 2000s with the infamous shoplifting scandal. This was a catastrophic public controversy that essentially forced her to take a decade-long break from major Hollywood roles. During this time, she quietly worked as an executive producer and dealt with personal losses. Her ultimate comeback came in 2016 with the Netflix series Stranger Things. Playing the stressed, fierce mother Joyce, she won back global acclaim and proved her emotional depth to a new generation. Today, Winona lives a very private life, often splitting time in Northern California, keeping a distance from the Hollywood machine. Her legacy is that of the eternal outsider, a fragile, intelligent rebel who survived the chaos of early fame, faced a public fall, and achieved a triumphant, age-defying return on her own terms. She remains an enduring symbol of authentic, unpolished emotion. So that was the story of Winona Ryder's career and her incredible resilience. Her life is filled with so many truths, so many ups and downs. If any of these facts or anything related to Winona Ryder resonated with you, like this documentary, comment below with your favorite Winona Ryder character. Subscribe to the channel for more documentaries like this.